Anyone who watched Spy Family after last week's episode probably has a question or two about Loid and Yor's relationship, especially since the anime teased us that the two of them were about to kiss. Many of you who watch the anime probably have been getting vibes that this might be one of those series where the two people who entered into this sham marriage might actually catch feelings for one another and enter into a relationship at some point, a genuine relationship where actual feelings are involved and it's not for the sake of maintaining appearances. Well, in order for that to happen, Loid and Yor would have to go out on a date, right? Well, what if I told you that Loid and Yor did indeed go out on more than one date, a real date that sets the groundwork for the two of them ending up together? Well, in today's video, we're going to look at Yor and Loid's first date as well as their second date and explain the significance of what we got in the story afterwards and how it sets up the future. So in the bonus chapter of the Spy Family manga, Loid notices that Yor is in a bit of a mood and it appears that she's hiding something from him, which led to him asking Yor out on a date, just the two of them with no Anya being involved. This quickly flusters Yor as a result, and it causes her to think back to how her co-workers were questioning her about how she and Loid never really went out as a couple. Now, what I love about this right here is that the author of Spy Family is actually addressing something that you see in real life with married couples. Newlyweds tend to have that honeymoon phase that lasts for a certain amount of time where everything is perfect, nobody can do any wrong, but every marriage hits that point where a jolt of magic is needed in order to keep the marriage moving forward, especially once kids have been brought into the picture. The small things that were once done at the start of a relationship or at the start of a marriage might start happening a little bit less because you don't think anything about it, and moments that you took for granted, like going out on the city as a couple, aren't happening as often anymore because you got family life and other responsibilities to tend to. By having Yor be questioned by her co-workers and bring up the fact that her marriage doesn't have any time for Loid and Yor as a couple, it opened up the door for this to be captured in the manga format, and it showed both the husband's side in wanting to win over the wife and the wife's side by realizing on what it is that she's missing out on. That being said, this is a spy family. A marriage between a trained assassin and a spy is bound to be complicated to a point where even a simple date's gonna have issues, right? Well, if you think so, congrats, because you're absolutely right here. So going into their date, Yor was actually injured from her mission the night before where she got shot in the butt, which leads to some humorous scenes in the story. Most importantly, it gives insight into what a relationship between a spy and an assassin would actually be like given the job duties. And it also sets the framework for their second date that we'll get into after this one. Starting with the humor element, you have Loid coming up with over 800 different scenarios of date ideas. However, due to Yor being shot in the butt, she doesn't want to ride in the limo that he got her because she would be in too much pain if she did so. The same when they go to the movie theater. Yor standing up super embarrassed because the idea of sitting through a movie causes her pain. The same when she refuses to try on any tight pants because the pressure would likely make her collapse from the pain. When she finally does sit down for dinner, that's where we see the dangers of being in a relationship with someone like Yor really come into light. But in typical Spy Family fashion, what should be a dangerous situation ends up having some good old wholesome humor sprinkled into it. Unbeknownst to Yor, there was a single survivor from her rampage the night before, and he recognized her as being the Thorn Princess. However, as he worked at the restaurant where Yor and Loid were dining, he decided to fill her drink up with blowfish poison and have her drink that martini. The humor comes from the fact that the moment that Yor drinks the poison and it kicks in as a painkiller for her due to the fact that she has an extremely high tolerance for poison due to her being a contract killer. Furthermore, when Yor continues on her date with Loid, the two of them take a romantic walk that concludes with them looking over the skyline of the city, and we get our first real meaty sign. Yor's beginning to fall in love with Loid. Yor blushes as she looks over at Loid and she states that she wants to go on another date with him again. The reason why this is so huge is that up until this point, the two of them really hadn't had any traditional couple moments. They should have had one at the party with Yor's co-workers, but the truth is that they couldn't do so due to Loid being covered in blood, them leaving out soon, and the two of them fighting off Loid's enemies later on. They spent plenty of time as a fake family, but not anything where it was just Loid and Yor together. Going a step further, when you have Agent Nightfall shows up, Yor begins to grow jealous and she worries about Loid leaving her for the woman that she knows as Fiona, who's actually Agent Nightfall, and this sets up their second date. Now, what we also see here is that we have a moment where Yor begins to plant the seeds in her head that she's actually worried about this situation because number one, she's worried that her cover's gonna be blown, but she's also confused if this is something that she's worried about because she's grown attached to what she believes to be Loid and Anya, a father and daughter family that accepted her into their unit as a wife and mother respectfully. The after effect of this occurring after her date with Loid is significant because it causes us to see moments where Loid and Yor go out on another date where it's just the two of them directly because of what happened with Agent Nightfall. However, what was supposed to be a shared moment between Yor and Loid that resulted in Loid sharing drinks with Yor and eventually telling her that there was nothing going on with him and Agent Nightfall. It ended with Yor's imagination running wild all over again. Most importantly, Yor begins to ask herself if the reasons why she's worried about being replaced was because she didn't want to give up her life with Loid and Anya as the wife and husband respectfully. Now, when Yor starts drinking, that's where things get super serious. She starts doing what quite a few drunks tend to do, which is they start bearing their emotions. And to understand why, we have to look at the effects that alcohol has on the body and how it hits different people in different ways. There are 4 different types of drunk, and you can tell which one Yor is based on the way that she's behaving. For instance, some people, when they get drunk, they get affectionate because alcohol in larger doses can lower the inhibitions of the person and it can alter their emotions. The combination between decreased inhibition and increased emotion can lead to physical affection. Alcohol can also increase the levels of dopamine inside the body. Dopamine is viewed by many as being the brain's reward chemical, but studies also point to the fact that dopamine is at an all-time high when people pursue a relationship with someone who they're extremely attracted to. The high level of dopamine makes for a new love feel very rewarding to a person, exciting, and it makes it worth pursuing over other things. Due to Yor not actually being in a relationship with Loid, that effect gets ramped up here, but it's also mixed in with her other emotions that are spilling out because she starts asking if Loid is in love with Fiona / Nightfall. She begins to blush when she says that she doesn't know what's going on anymore, but that was really her talking out her feelings about what was going on in her mind. And it's also a tell sign that she's beginning to slip her own feelings into the conversation because she quickly utters the phrase, "God damn it," after believing that Loid was in love with Fiona. And she starts crying when she says that Loid used to call her a pretty woman, and she believed that all those times Loid said it in the past must have been a lie, which shows that she values his opinion of her, which leads to Loid realizing that she's jealous. When this happens, Loid goes in for a kiss after holding her hand, and in comedic fashion, we have a heartbeat meter showing Yor getting really close to her limit, and in typical cake woman fashion, her quirky nature kicks in, and she kicks Loid in the face and knocks him out. Now, if you're wondering what exactly a cake woman is, I recommend going over to my Naruto Explained channel and looking at the video, The True Reason Ada is Falling for Boruto, the Cake Woman Explained, because I go super in depth on what a cake woman is, the history behind the trope in shonen series, as well as how it fits in culturally in Japan. But just to put it in the shortest term possible, a cake woman is a woman over 25 years old who has issues, and those issues prevent her from being in a relationship. Yor is 27 years old. She has issues that keep her from being in a relationship in the sense that she's an assassin, and she displays other cake woman tendencies. Now, the reason why this is so huge is that their first date together led us to this very moment where Loid almost kissed Yor after her feelings for him began to slip out, and when they do return home and she's sobered up a bit, though she's still drunk, she states to herself that being with Loid and Anya was a place that she never wanted to leave behind. It was a place that she didn't think she would ever find after her brother left their home, which means that she's already equating them to her real life family. And it's a sign that our girl's falling in love with Loid. Just as some married couples need to have that one small spark that rekindles love in a marriage, these two on both of their dates, for as wacky as both of them ended up being, it ended up with one of them beginning to realize her feelings for the other, which means we're getting that much closer to the two actually falling in love. But again, in typical Spy Family fashion, when Yor wakes up the next morning, she doesn't remember anything that happened, but those feelings are still buried down deep inside of her. So my question for you guys is, do you guys see Loid and Yor ending up together? Who out of the two do you think is going to confess their feelings for the other first? And who will be willing to admit their double secret life that they're hiding? Yor being an assassin and Loid being a secret spy. While you think about those questions or you need more time to gather your thoughts, enjoy these other Spy Family videos as well as other anime videos that you're seeing on the screen right now.